sir.
Yeah.
I believe you live in the 9th district.
4th, I believe.
The 4th, okay.
But I'll take one now.
I know he was on my list, but I didn't know if he still lived down there.
Oh, it's
like Agersville Road.
Browns Road.
Oh, okay. It said Agersville on the list.
Oh, that's been a while.
That's been a while.
Yeah. Good to meet you.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you. I know I see you at some of the meetings up there.
Oh, yeah. Well, good luck to you, man.
Excuse me, everybody. In about 5 minutes, Monty Fritz is going to speak, and he is governor.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, man. I wasn't ignoring you. I was trying to type in. Yeah, man. Really? That's people here. Do what? I think it's kind of neat. I think it's neat. You can look it up. I'll probably keep that in the portfolio. Do something for our Good morning. This is Bruce Stairs. Huh? That's your neighbor, dude. You said that. You said it. Did she sign it for me? Did you say it in the video? I'm just telling them it'll be back live. My camera went down for a minute. I got my drone out there. I was going to fly it around. I got them cables on. Probably just hit somebody in the head. You need me to bring anything in here so I can look at the left turn crowd. You remember that?
Okay, let me follow.
Good to yes, sir.
What you got there, huh?
I had the camera went down. I'm back up there.
Okay. He's fixing that. What do you got right now? Right now.
Yeah, I just put it on the social that he's got here. So let's do her.
Luckily for her, nobody will want to do it.
Okay, everybody. Monty Fritz is going to speak for governor.
Hey, how y'all today in Macon County? It's good to be with you all today. I am Monty Fritz. I'm running to be the next governor of the state of Tennessee. You ask me, why would anybody do that? I feel called of God to do this. I don't want to wig you out and say this, but I tell you, our state is in a little bit of trouble. Now, we live in the best place in the entire world. I think God has a special favor for Tennessee soil. But we've allowed some high places to be built up in Tennessee that need to be torn down, and I intend to do that. Our founders, 56 of them, signed their name to a document that said that we have been endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Are among those life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. Our founders understood that there were two foundational things that we must adhere to for our government to work. First is the Constitution. I've already mentioned that. Second is the Word of God. We have lost focus on what is right and wrong in many cases, and not only in America, but sometimes even in Tennessee. When we have a budget that has grown by 59% over 6 years' time, we have built up a high place in collecting your tax dollars and sending them to Nashville. My colleagues, think about this just a minute. A few years ago, I've been a state rep now for 4 years. It's my 4th year in doing this. Before I got into politics the first time, which I never wanted to get into politics, I told some of these nice folks here to run for office for the first time, I think everybody ought to run for office once, because it's a great experience to learn and grow from. And some people get into public service and stay in for a while. I limited myself to 4 years because, to be honest with you, I'm not crazy about being around those Nashville politicians on a regular basis. Don't take that as hateful. Don't take that as mean. I'm just being honest with you. Many of those men and women have forgotten that they work for you. Many of them think that they work for the lobbyists that slither up and down the halls of the Cordell Hall, and they continue to take your money. So that 59% growth in the budget is problematic. When we spent $550 million of your dollars to build the Tennessee Titans a new stadium a few years ago. We should not do that. There's several things that I intend to take on as your governor. I'm going to give you just a few of my priorities, and then I'll talk a little bit about me and why I think I'm called to do this. I do think you need to keep more money in your pocketbook or your billfold and in Macon County coffers rather than sending so much to Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm not just offering that as an eclectic thought of what many of these politicians tell you, because you're going to hear from these other politicians and they're going to say, we're going to make you the most conservative this. Or I have this idea that we'll be a constitutional carry state, which we are not today. But they've done nothing to stand up for your rights. I'm going to show you some receipts that we have stood up for them. That budget that had grown by 59%, I was the one Republican that voted against that budget. As a matter of fact, last year I was a Doge for the state of Tennessee. I had 8 budget amendments, 5 of them to remove money from the state of Tennessee's budget. I think that's important because while we have in Tennessee a balanced budget, every time we spend $1 in Nashville, guess where that comes from? It comes from your purse and your pocket. We must get this under control in Tennessee. We must stop the corporate welfare, and we must start to realize that we work for every citizen in the state of Tennessee, not just those with box seats or those millionaires. So we've taken the budget on in Tennessee. I've taken on Second Amendment rights in the state of Tennessee because we do not have a constitutional carry in this state. As a matter of fact, thank you. As a matter of fact, in this state of Tennessee, we continue to infringe upon our rights to keep and bear arms. I think our rights are absolute and inviolate. I think I'm the only Republican running for the governorship in the state of Tennessee, just to be honest with you. And I'm not picking on poor Marsha or poor John. I'm just telling you, when I look at my voting record compared to their voting record, there is no comparison. I'm a John Birch Society member. I don't like communism. The John Birch Society rates every year and has for decades how politicians vote in alignment with the Constitution and small government principles. Last year I scored 100. Both of the other people who claim to be Republicans scored in the 60s. I don't know about y'all, but when my two little boys, when they were younger, if they come home with a 60 on their test, on their scores, or on their grades, they got in trouble in the Fritz house. We have got to stop accepting that. We have sent so many weak males off into politics and feckless females who have decided that they're going to do things for their own benefit as they sneak through the airports and avoid votes. You've had some of your folks in Tennessee standing up for your rights. There are 3 gun bills open right now in the state of Tennessee that the Senate, to try to restore us to constitutional carry and get rid of this silly Hughes v. Lee appeal that Governor Lee has offered. And the Senate rolls those into 2027. I'm telling you, friends, many of the folks in Nashville, Tennessee don't care about your rights. It's time that you had somebody standing up fighting for you and your rights in Tennessee. We've done that on 4 or 5 areas, and I would offer that I've got the receipts that we've stood up for. We passed the first law in the nation on geoengineering to prohibit it in the state of Tennessee. We've had 32 states follow us. I'm not thumping my chest about that, because you know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar when he got up and started bragging about all he was and all he had done? He grazed like a cow for 7 years. I like cows. I like to eat them. I like to look at them. I just don't want to be one. So I'm not boasting on me. But what I'm telling you is God calls men and women to stand up with courage. Look at what he has blessed us with. Don't you think me and 3 of my buddies, 3 of my favorite people in the whole wide world, we were standing outside talking just a minute ago. In the whole world, since we got back from Iraq in 2005, the whole world has changed. In 21 years, think about those of y'all that are old enough to remember, in 21 years, our entire nation has changed. That's because men have not stood up. I want my grandchildren, I want your children and your grandchildren to grow up and to grow old in Tennessee as free men and women. And we're going to have to kind of confront the establishment to do that. Part of confronting that establishment is just this, friends. It's recalibrating Nashville, Tennessee to understand that those commissioners and those senior level employees work for you, not against you. And that those folks in the Nashville, Tennessee establishment understand that they work only under the authority of the Constitution. We've gotten outside that. We must course correct it. I fully intend to do 2 or 3 things to make sure that that's corrected. There won't be a commissioner in the state of Tennessee when Fritz is governor that can't pass a test on the Tennessee Constitution. We won't allow the organizations to get so top-heavy where we have, in many cases, more suits and ties than we do touch labor people working for the state of Tennessee in those groups. There was a phrase I grew up with, and some of y'all that are younger, when you say this, it's going to make your eyes get big, but I grew up hearing this. In Nashville, Tennessee, we have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And we need to correct that in the state of Tennessee, and I fully intend to do that. We have state employees that feel like that they are not appreciated. I was a state employee a long time ago. Met this young man, said he was a correctional officer. I was a correctional officer for the Department of Corrections back in the mid-1980s. Most of the state employees I talk to today feel like the senior executives aren't listening to them. They feel like the commissioners aren't listening to them. We must correct that in Tennessee. Part of that course correction is, again, that constitutionality that we must impress upon each one of our commissioners and those senior employees to realize that they work under that authority and that authority alone. But it also means that each one of those commissioners needs to be on a regular basis, evaluating how well they're doing based on your input. We're going to set up a governor's helpline in the state of Tennessee. When you call the governor's office or you email, you should expect someone to answer or return the call. The governor of the state of Tennessee works for the people of the state of Tennessee. He doesn't just work, or she doesn't just work for people who have box seats at the Ryman. He or she does not just work for the wealthy, affluent, and the celebrity class. They work for you all in Macon County and folks like me in Rome County. And we must get back to that. A couple other quick things. We have led the nation not only in the bills that we filed, but protecting your Second Amendment rights by protecting both firearms and ammunition manufacturers and retailers from predatory lawsuits that would end your Second Amendment by ending the ability to produce those things in Tennessee. In Tennessee, we have one of the highest per capita workforces of weapons and ordnance manufacturing in the entire United States. We got a chance to pass a law, my law, passed two of those to protect that. Gun Owners of America say that we're the best in the nation in protecting that industry now, and I think we need to continue that. My friends, all of us are human beings created in the image of Almighty God, and we should thusly treat one another that way. But when you commit the crime of coming into the United States illegally, you have become an illegal alien. I will use every resource at my hand as the governor of the state of Tennessee to ensure that your dollars are not paying for the education, the housing, nor the medical care for people of foreign nations illegally in this state. We will treat everybody as an image bearer of Almighty God, but you should not be asked to take your money and fund the education of illegal children that are in the state of Tennessee. I know that's a hard topic. I get lots of hate mail because I speak about it. But the simple fact is that if we have a group of children that don't speak English in our schools, not only are you, brothers and sisters, paying for that, our children are missing an opportunity to learn because we have put effort into the English as second language kids. We have allowed this to get completely out of control. Last thing I'll talk about, energy and elections, and then a little bit about me and why I'll go there. We saw in a fraudulent election a few years ago, illegitimate Joe Biden hold the White House for 4 years. Election security matters. You never hear the current governor nor the staff in Nashville, Tennessee talk about it. They just tell you everything's okay. My friends, we must continuously improve our elections in this state, or we will have fraudulent elections here. Much of what we have seen with the invasion of this nation is very simply to create an electoral crisis. We can control what's happening in Tennessee. You have my commitment as governor to make sure that we have a continuous improvement posture on elections. And last thing I'll mention, I'll tell you just a little bit about me, is energy. We are more dependent on kilowatts in the state of Tennessee than we are on water. It doesn't mean that we don't need our water, but we have to have the kilowatts to have that. We have seen Congress poorly oversight the U.S. TVA so that our ability and capacity to produce kilowatts has gone down. 2.5 years ago, we had a little bit of a brownout around Christmas. You all remember that. Had it not been for the efficiency of light bulbs and heating and air systems, we would already be in routine rolling brownouts in the state of Tennessee. I've never distributed power through anything but my generator at home and when we go camping. But what I have done is manage the nuclear supply chain. I understand that nuclear supply chain. I understand small modular reactors, and I understand what it takes to make those be successful. I also understand that coal is not a four-letter word in our vocabulary when we talk about energy, and we best be doing things different. I got the opportunity while our congressmen sat on their hands and done nothing to oversight TVA. Tennessee has an energy policy that I got the opportunity to write. And I got the opportunity to set up the Energy Policy Council and restructure it in the state of Tennessee so that we can provide good guidance to the governors and to the General Assembly for that. Again, in my legislative career, I've gotten the opportunity to do a few things to lead the nation. I've led workforces of almost 1,000 people in the nuclear industry making fuel for the Navy. I was a director of operations at Nuclear Fuels in Irwin for a little while. I managed enriched uranium operations at the Y-12 plant and all the chemical synthesis, the metal production, and the metal purification for the uranium U-235 stream for our nuclear strategic deterrent. I understand those supply chains. I'm living proof that God has a sense of humor, friends, that he would pick somebody who speaks like I do and has gotten to do those things. After my first trip to Iraq in 04 and 05 with some of these good men in this room, I went back in 07 and 08. I was one of the operations managers for a little endeavor called Operation McCall, where we removed what was the remainder of Saddam's nuclear material from the Al Tawaitha nuclear research complex. I understand how to lead things. I'm okay in running into the dust. I'm okay in looking you in the eye and telling you exactly what I think. You don't have to hate me for it. You might not love me for it sometimes, but you'll get the straight story from me. I've learned that that's what leaders do. Haven't you had enough of the politicians that tell you what they think you want to hear just to get you to vote for them? Haven't you had enough of the gutless and weak behaviors that do things like send $17 million to hide the sexual misconduct of congressmen? Aren't you sick of that? Aren't you sick that we don't have the guts in the U.S. Congress to stand up and prosecute those people who are on the Epstein list and all the horrible things we've done? Aren't you sick of seeing your dollars go to foreign nations all over the world while your neighbors can't afford to buy their groceries? I'm sick of that. If you want 4 more years of what you've had in the state of Tennessee with Governor Lee in place, and I'm not hating on the man, I'm just telling you he's failed us miserably, then you got 2 choices, and you'll have the exact same thing, establishment people. Because I'm not running against Ms. Blackburn, I'm not running against Mr. Rose, I'm running against a crooked, corrupt system that thinks that they have so much money that your voice doesn't matter. So I'm Monty Fritz. I'm asking for your vote August 6th, in early voting that leads up to it. I'll ask for your prayers. I'll ask that you'll pray that I'll do what's right and holy in God's eyes, that I'll remember my oath to the Constitution. I think I've done that, and I'll keep a servant's heart. Thank you so much.
Hey, Becky. Todd, do we want to wait until 3 and give them a chance to ask him questions, and then we'll wait until 3? Okay. All right. If y'all want to ask Monty questions, and then at 3 we'll have Lauren speak.
Just to go back there and ask him, or
No, just go back there and ask him. Yeah.
about, okay. What do you think about it?
I don't know about
You gonna sit in the air conditioning later?
it. No.
What you gonna do?
I don't know. It ain't gonna
Do you farm? You
No.
farm?
No. We learned used to years ago. Don't know.
When I was a kid growing up out there in Eden, you know, we worked for all the family. Me and how old are you? Eden Mark Austin, Brian Jr. Evans,
Oh, yeah.
Tim Collins, Nicky Roar. We all worked for them farmers out there, and we had our own money. And
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't do that for nothing.
Yeah,
That was
no.
work.
For $3 an hour.
Hauling hay, good. That alfalfa be 70 pounds a bale.
Exactly. It's crazy.
It was, you know, I look back on it though, it was some good times.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And we learned a whole lot.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about the value of a dog. When you work for that hard for it, it's hard to let it go
Oh,
for just anything.
absolutely.
But you know, if we wanted a good, I don't know, Nike or Reeboks, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. it was. You work for it.
We did. I'll put it on. Warm in here?
Oh, yes.
For her to say.
If you search around, you can find a place where it's a constant morning.
Yeah, the doorway.
Yeah, but if you don't, you just got
Yeah, I know. Hey man, appreciate you. Yeah, I was gonna put it on my keyboard.
Okay, hold on.
Did you get her on video?
Yeah.
And you got Fritz? You got Monty Fritz.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me, we have one more who's running for governor, who's gonna speak, and then after we have another who's running for Congress, who's gonna speak. Lauren Kingston, running for governor.
They do.
Thank you all
so much for being here. It means so much to see so many people engaged in politics because it's not been a very easy place to be. And I just want to start by asking how many of you can think of a relationship? How many of you can think of a relationship that may have been strained or maybe lost in the last 10 years because of politics? How many of you can think of a relationship that was lost? These are stories that I hear all across Tennessee. My name is Lauren Kingston. I am running for governor this year, and if you've not heard of me, this is your chance to get to make sure you don't leave this room today without having any of your questions answered. I want to start by saying what I've learned today, besides that water is clearly an issue in Macon County, and there are federal earmarks that should have already come down to you for that, is that I'm going to reach out to my friends in media, and we're going to pitch a show called The Real Housewives of Macon County. And the people I'm going to invite are all the mayoral candidates' wives to be on the show, because you guys have quite the lineup of mayoral candidates this year. What an exciting time, and it's great to see this many people out. Here's what I want you to know about me. I'm a rural girl through and through. I grew up in McNairy County, West Tennessee on the Mississippi line, Buford-Pusser land, if anybody's familiar. If you want the tea about Buford-Pusser and why we exhumed his wife's body this year, you can come back to my table back there, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. So I grew up there. I moved to Memphis. I moved to Laos. I moved to Uganda, and I moved back. I've got 4 kids. 3 of them are here today, and they were raised on 3 continents. And so we've lived this global life. And then I came back to a Tennessee that I just did not recognize. It was a state that was still full of the people that I recognized, still behaving the way that I expected them to, but a state that was governed in a way that had changed drastically. And I'm running this year to bring that type of order back. Because when I think about the people who make up Tennessee, it's not the people who are feeling represented today. And I think there's a reason why only 33% of Tennesseans voted in the last governor's race. We were dead last, 51st in the country in voter turnout. And that's a failure of democracy. I want to ask a question to you guys, if I may. And if anybody's open to speaking into my little microphone here, I have a question. Because I love being in the rural areas. It's where I feel most at home. But when I go to Knoxville, and I go to Nashville, and I go to Memphis, what do you think the voters there are saying about you? What are some of the assumptions that voters in rural counties are making about voters in counties like Macon County? Is anybody gutsy enough to answer that question? I'm getting a lot of bug eyes. Any assumptions? Yes, ma'am. What do you mean by insignificant? Not important. You're not important. You're not big enough because you are in a small county, a small rural county. What else do you think people say about voters in places like Macon County? What do they say in the big cities? They don't know you, they don't understand you, and this is why I want you to know that I've got your back. Because every time I'm speaking in Nashville and in Memphis and in Chattanooga and in Knoxville, what I'm saying is that you don't understand the intelligence and the values of people in rural Tennessee. How many of you graduated from high school? How many of you graduated from a TCAT or from college? You're intelligent people. You can think for yourselves. You don't have your eyes closed, and the people of this county are not people who deserve to just be talked down to, have their eyes closed and hold their nose in order to vote. And I want to make sure that you have someone that you feel like represents you. And that's why I decided to run this year. A couple of things that you need to know about this race. Number one, it's going to be a race based off of solutions, not off of sides. I'm running as an independent, and for the majority of my life, there was never a path for me to serve publicly because of that. I do say that across the state, there are independents that are running Tennessee all day, every day. They're running the clerk's office, they're running your city council. So independents are winning, and they are governing across the state every single day. So yes, independents can win. What you don't maybe know is that the majority of voters in Tennessee are independent. 19% of voters in Tennessee are registered Democrats. 36% of voters in Tennessee are registered Republicans. but 44% of the state are registered nonpartisan voters. And this race is for those people. And it's also for the people who are feeling like they've been left behind, like they're politically homeless, like their party has left them. And that's why we're doing this. We've got exciting momentum. I'm going to talk about a couple of policy positions, and then I am happy to answer any questions that you guys have. What I want you to know about the voucher system that we have right now is that we have no data that supports that the school vouchers that have been passed through our legislature are there to actually improve educational outcomes for students in Tennessee. I called private schools before they passed the legislation. They did not want the legislation. I called teachers ahead of the legislation. They didn't want it. And what we're seeing right now is that the outcomes from those vouchers have actually led to worse outcomes for students rather than better outcomes. I'd like to take those dollars that are apportioned right now for the vouchers and move them to early childhood education, 0 to 5 years, because that's where the biggest gap exists and that's where our investments need to go. So if you are working a second or a third shift, you should be able to have money that is coming into your pocket so that you can get back to work. Again, I've got 4 kids. I had the privilege of being able to take them to the job site with me in my work. Spent 15 years in counter trafficking, and so I've been starting businesses for survivors of trafficking all over the world. My kids went with me. But for a woman who doesn't have those options, to be able to be on site in her workplace and to be able to keep nursing her child, knowing that her kids are right there on site with her, I want to work with those businesses across the state to create early learning centers that are going to be able to get kids back or get kids taken care of and get families back to work, because a dual income household is about what it takes anymore to keep things working in our economy. I also want you to know that we are losing about 10 acres of farmland in Tennessee every minute. And this is a tragedy. We've got generational farms that are closing. I don't know if you have heard or not, but China's not buying our soybeans. Soybeans are big in West Tennessee. So there's 3 things that we can solve on 1 acre of land. Okay? We're not in a gold rush. We are not in an oil rush. We are in a data rush. In 2016, and Tennessee needs to be a part of that conversation. So if we look at our vulnerable farms, we can take data centers that are coming into this state, we can bury them under the ground instead of keeping them above the ground. I've asked the Department of Energy all the way into Washington, and they say this is possible. Bury them underground so that we don't look at them, but we can trap the thermal energy that they release, and we can heat greenhouses on top of that same land so that we can grow agricultural products to get back to our schools and to our local farmers markets. So this allows us to do 3 things on the same acre of land. We attract the data centers, but they're underground. We create more energy, we create agricultural products, and then we source local agricultural products to our local markets while preserving farmland in Tennessee. These are smart solutions that we can do. I want intelligent people in office, and I want you all to feel intelligent when you're making your vote. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. Thank you for serving. Thank you for running for office. Thank you for having a part of the conversation in the public square, because that is how we preserve democracy. I've lived in countries that don't have what we have. And when I saw that up close, and I lived in a communist nation, and I lived in a dictatorship, and I came back to Tennessee, I thought, it is our responsibility to preserve a republic if you can keep it. And that's what I want to make sure Tennessee remains. I love the things that you guys bring, the community that exists here, and I want Tennessee to remain a shining light to the rest of the nation. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm at the table in the back. I would love to answer any more questions that you have. Thanks. Becky, are we good to go ahead and do the other one? Okay, we will do the last speaker at 3:30. So you can ask any questions until 3:30.
I think that's amazing. It's going to take a long time putting that together. Some of them. That's what he did.
I took a few of them.
Did you? Okay, so you spoke to all the commissioners. It's okay. He's really insane. So, could you hear the sheriffs? Could you hear the sheriffs? The main ones I wanted this to make everybody, and I'll probably always say that. It's ones with the mayor, sheriffs, the governor. Did you give him the card? You said you had to give him the card?
Oh, let me tell you.
Okay. Well, just wait. We'll have supper. Maybe it's okay, that works.
Yeah, let's talk to her too.
When you get up, I actually was wanting to get the cards from you. Have you been doing that?
No. Did you ask me to do that?
Yeah. I wish I had it. Mr. Piano. I don't. Yeah, I can't sing. LA 15-7 Mercury. Hmm?
Yeah, Chantel, Chelsea, $80.
I just come from the Easter and while my face is all painted. Like I got a breeze on her. For a breeze. She was a water bottle last year. And I think I got there for free. I had COVID. I tried to get steady. I look around. I think I see him. Let me go catch him.
Are you doing it?
Excuse me, everybody. We have one more candidate, Natisha Brooks, who's going to be running for Congress.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Natisha Brooks. They call me Natisha R. Miss Brooks, the teacher. Retired 33 years, education, principal, teacher, homeschool owner, private school, and now charter school. I hail from Texas. I know Tennessee discovered Texas, and we thank you for that. I've been in Tennessee since 1989. I am a college graduate from the proud HBCU, Prairie View A&M University, where Prairie View produces productive people. My degree is in chemistry and physics, and no, I am not smart. I did not graduate magna cum laude. I graduated thank you, Lottie. But I graduated. Why am I running for Congress? Congressman Rose is running for governor. I'm not running against him. I'm running to replace his seat. I consider myself a conservative Christian constitutionalist. But the one thing that I want to discuss first, that I want to make clear, I also serve on the Tennessee Executive Committee representing Senate District 19, servicing Davidson County. I want to make something clear because I know there are a lot of Republican candidates in here, so I'd appreciate it if you would listen very carefully because there's a lot of confusion of what makes you a bona fide candidate, so we will not have this in the future. You must have voted at least 3 out of the last 4 statewide primaries. I can say this because I serve on the committee. If you did not, so let's discuss what statewide is. That means when there is a primary for governor, when there is a primary for president, when there is a primary for U.S. Senate, Congress does not count because we are not statewide. So check your voting record. And I do apologize on behalf of the State Executive Committee because there's a lot of confusion. Macon County should have a Republican Party, and I will fight for you to have that. Right now there is, and we will limit it. But those of you that are running as a Republican candidate, I need you to listen carefully. If you miss the statewide primary that's coming up, it starts all over again. So I've already talked to several people across the state that have called me and said, Ms. Brooks, I did vote 3 out of 4, but then when I pull your voting record, you only voted 1 out of 4 because it has to be statewide primaries, not the general. General does not count. That is in our bylaws. If you'd like to see me after I step down, I will show you the bylaws. And that is up to your state executive committee, woman and man, to have translated that information to you. So I apologize for that fact, but now you don't know what you don't know, but now you do know. So let's get past that. If you have any more questions about what a bona fide Republican is, and if you'd like me to look at your record, I will explain it to you. Because some of you, when it's been sent to me, I have to call them back and say, no, you did not vote in the statewide primaries. That's what they're looking for you to be a bona fide Republican candidate. Does it matter? Personally, Natisha R. Miss Brooks, the teacher, believes in growing the party and not shrinking the party. And the way the bylaws are set now, I am not confident that it is growing the party. So that is my job as the representative serving Davidson County, Senate District 19. I am a grandmother of 3 precious children. 2 are recently adopted. Those of you that have my card, you'll see at the top, adoption matters. This needs to be a federal issue. We need to get children out of the system. DHS does not need to run us We need to help DHS learn what manners are. It should not cost $100,000 to adopt a child. Those of you that are fostering in the care, look how long it takes to get children out of the system. And those that are your next governor, that should be the first thing on the task force, is to get these children out of the system, because if you don't, they will fall. A lot of them fall into human trafficking, which is a now global issue. The next thing that I'm running for is education matters. Trade schools matter. It matters. If your kids do not want to go to college, we need to get my job as your congresswoman, and I know the definitions between a man and a woman. I'm running as your congresswoman. My job is to bring money into Macon County, to bring money into the district. That is my job. I want to see trade schools successful. Also, education to employment. Those that are going to college should not be in debt up to their eyeballs if they cannot afford to leave your homes. That's why they're still living with you. They can't afford it. Colleges should be responsible for employment of what they are charging for tuition. And for the Pell Grant and the SEOG that students can get, if they don't want to go to college, if they don't want to go to trade school, they should have an opportunity to start their own businesses. Small businesses matter. That is what makes rural counties successful. Not our conglomerate businesses, but small businesses. Another thing, for those of you that serve, our first responders, as your congresswoman, it is my job to bring money back into the district, back into the county, to make sure that our first responders, the sheriff's office, those that serve us to the highest level, get paid more than those that work at McDonald's. That is not right. That is our job. Another reason that I am running to be your congresswoman, and it really, really matters. Our system is broken, ladies and gentlemen, with our veterans. We had over 10,000 veterans lose their homes to foreclosure. That is a shame before God. Can I get an amen? We should serve our veterans better than what they are being served. Last but not least, if you have my card, and I hate my voice is losing, on the back, mental health matters. We do not need beds in the sheriff's office to serve mental health patients. We have to start talking mental health. Mental health matters. From youngsters, look at the suicide rate. Look at the suicide rate in our veterans. It matters. And we need to make sure that people get the service that they need. We need to make sure that in our rural counties, and I'm from rural county, I'm a farmer, sweet potato farmer, don't forget to buy your sweet potatoes. But what's in our food matters. We need to start making companies responsible of letting us know what we are eating. I can tell you, if you're buying sweet potatoes from East Texas, Gilmer, Texas, from my area, I can tell you there's no preservatives. They're real. Well, last but not least, before I take my seat, I would be remiss in saying this. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Happy Easter. Happy Holy Saturday. I am a Christian, conservative, constitutionalist, and I promised my father, who was a Baptist preacher, that I would never leave the podium without saying John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you don't know Christ, see me outside. I'll introduce you to him. I'll live a wonderful life through Christ. My name is Natisha. They call me Natisha or Miss Brooks. I've spoken in 5 counties today. I ask for your prayers, and I ultimately ask for your vote.
Thank you. Okay, that was all of our candidates that we're going to have speak today. Before everybody leaves, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Jennifer for letting us use the barn. I want to say thank you to Anthony at C3 Coffee for providing coffee, Mike's Foodland, Mike and Ashley, Higgly Wiggly, Todd, and Eric at the Macon County Sentinel for live streaming this. And I also want to thank Becky, because if it wasn't for Becky, none of this would have happened. So thanks for everybody coming.